Hello gamers, today I am talking about a game that has been talked about on YouTube almost more times than it has been released. And this game possibly being one of the greatest video mic games of all time, that being the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, released for the first time in 2011, which in general was a pretty good year for games, seeing the releases of games like Arkham City, LA Noire, The Witcher 2, Deus Ex, Human Revolution, Portal 2, Assassin's Creed Revelations, and one of the games that I have put way too many hours into, Star Wars The Old Republic. As I have mentioned already, this game has quite possibly had everything said about it, so you may ask, why am I talking about it then? Well, because I want to, mainly, and also I replayed Skyrim for another video I'm working on that's a little bit different to the videos I've released so far. However, that video is probably going to take me a couple of months to hammer out and figure out how I'm going to do it, so that's still quite a while away yet. Oh, and, you know, my opinion is clearly the best, superior opinion in the world. And being a fan of Skyrim is not a new thing, even though, let's be honest, Bethesda have given us reasons to hate on them for the last couple years. Maybe Starfield will be different. This game has won so many awards throughout its time, winning Game of the Year at least 4 times from different award shows. It also won MMORPG of the Year from the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, which means it must be a very good game as it can win awards for categories it does not even take part in. This game being nowhere near an MMO, the closest being the Skyrim Together mod, which I believe got shut down, but we will talk about mods in depth in a little bit. Skyrim isn't really known as a game that looks amazing. That probably has something to do with the fact that the game came out over a decade ago now. And to be honest, there are better looking games from around that time period. But something Skyrim does borderline perfectly is the atmosphere the game sets. From the toned greys used everywhere to the fog and oh my god, the music. This game, the music is just perfect. It honestly has one of the best ambient setting soundtracks, up there with the likes of Minecraft, which obviously the music just helps so much with the atmosphere of the game. It's got Skyrim music. It's a masterclass in video game music. It also helps that everywhere you look in Skyrim, even without graphical mods on, could very much be a wallpaper. The game can just be that picturesque even without looking like a beautiful game, if that makes sense. Anyways, what is there to say about the story of Skyrim? To be honest, not much. I have played this game for over 1,000 hours on at least 3 different consoles. Well, 2 different consoles and a PC. And I have only completed the story in entirety of 2 times. And one of those times was me messing around with console commands. And it isn't because it's a particularly hard game to complete. It's more to do with something I feel Skyrim does better than any other RPG game that at least I have had the chance to play. And that is the way that they handle quests. They just sort of pop up and it is very easy to get caught up in another quest line, which also helps obviously allowing you to roleplay as your own character in the world of Skyrim, if that makes sense. Like, for an example, the character I was playing through on this recording is a thief. I'm like 6 to 10 hours into the game already, and my Khajiit doesn't even know that he is the Dragonborn, as after leaving Helgen, I didn't really trust either faction, as one of them was going to chop my head off, and the other one is the reason that I was going to get my head chopped off. So whilst I was wandering my cat paws down to Riverwood, I got distracted as a bandit outside of an abandoned mineshaft decided to attack me for absolutely no reason. And let's just say I took that a little personally and decided to kill his whole faction. And whilst clearing out the mine, I came across a pond which you could fish in. Now, I didn't know that fishing was a thing in Skyrim, so I got straight to it. Then after catching a fish, I was then prompted to go to Riften to learn more about fishing, so I decided, hey, I'm a cat, I like salmon, I like tuna, why not become a fisherman and I can catch my food and eat it? But after talking to the people at the fishery down in Riften, I found out that fishing is not going to be for me. So I made my way into Riften to look for a place to rest my weary head for the night, as it was a long, long walk from that abandoned mine shaft to Riften. But then, whilst on my way to the Bee and Barb, I was then introduced to the Thieves Guild, and that's the story I have been going through and playing for the last couple hours, alongside with picking up random quests from talking to people, which is also something that I think Skyrim did right. The fact that there aren't quest markers for new quests, you just need to sort of talk to people and figure out if they want you to do something for them. But anyways, now it's time to talk about some of the shortcomings of this amazing game. And the first one is fast travel. Now I know in my Dead Island 2 video I was like, yes, fast travel, very good. Which it is in that game. And obviously I understand why there's fast travel in Skyrim, and I use it occasionally. It makes sense, but I feel the reason Skyrim's story isn't the best is that it's less about the story and more about the journey to get there. Now, that sounds cheesy as all hell, but exploration is the most enjoyable part of Skyrim in my opinion. Walking around the map and just running into random people and places, stuff that you would never do if you just ignored it, running and fast traveling from point A to point B. And there is so much to see and run into in the world of Skyrim. If it being a prisoner transport, just a random group of people walking around the woods for no reason, abandoned shacks, mine shafts, and then your random giant camp where you'll immediately be stomped on and killed. Now, on the topic of being stomped on and killed, let's talk about one thing that Mr. Todd Howard got very wrong in this game. That being the fact that combat just straight up sucks in this game. Now, you may wonder why almost every Let's Play of Skyrim involves you playing as a stealth archer. And that's not because Skyrim has the best stealth system in any video game, it's because being an archer is the only somewhat good way to play the combat system, as any kind of melee, one-handed or two-handed builds that just feel awful to play. There is no weight to the combat. Everything just feels so light, if that makes sense. Even when you hit your target, it's just like you're swinging at air and missing every time. If you guys have ever thrown up, like, say you're hitting a boxing bag, you throw a punch and you miss the boxing bag, and like it just feels weird after you miss the hit. That's very much what Skyrim combat feels like. So archery is normally the go-to, and even that isn't perfect, as when you fire an arrow through the air, it will oddly go up before going down, and sometimes even going up again, which just isn't quite how physics works, is it? Also, something I found out whilst this playthrough, particularly after doing some Googling, headshots don't do extra damage. Like, why? So it's better to aim for the body, as if you aim for the head, A, it won't do the aforementioned extra damage that you would expect from video games, and B, because of the janky arrow flying mechanics, if you aim perfectly at their head or their neck, you will miss them and the arrow will just bounce over their head. But now we're going to talk about something that gets a little too much praise, in my opinion, in Skyrim, and that is mods. Now don't get me wrong, the mods for Skyrim are straight up some of the best mods for any video game ever, and some of them are worthy of being their own games all on their own sum, and some of them have been spread out into their own games and are also very successful. And of course, obviously there are mods that are going to make the game look better. The game's from 2011, so obviously there's like a decade and 2 years of graphical advancement in that time. So of course mods are able to bring the game up to the new standard. But I feel one thing that is important to remember is that if the game itself wasn't excellent, people would spend hours to days to weeks to months to sometimes even years of their lives creating these masterpieces, extra stories and all that for this game if it was like ours. Like, can you imagine a modding community for Saints Row the reboot? Also, I don't know if there's like a creation kit. I've heard the creation kit for making mods for Skyrim and also any Bethesda game is very good, and I imagine that is not so with many other games. Obviously, a lot of these mods can even make their way into the actual game, like the housing mod that was originally released then became a DLC for the game. I just hope the mod creator for that housing mod got paid in some sort of way. I'm sure he did. Maybe he even works in game development now. I don't know. But I would hope so. Now, as I'm sure we all know, everyone and their dog has made a video about Skyrim. But hey, it's been at least 3 hours since a review of Skyrim has been uploaded to YouTube, so I thought it was my time to fill that gap. And also, I'm sure everything I've said in this video has been said before. It's almost impossible at this point to have an original opinion on this game. But then again, the main reason of me making this channel was just to post my thoughts on games, if they are original or not. So here we go, here we went, here we've been. This has been my review of Skyrim.